Greetings and welcome back. I am delighted to be able to take you further on competitor analysis and strategy. In the first segment, I invited you to be able to listen to and watch Professor Ricardo Brito, who is the Dean of IBS Americas, as he was discussing the Netflix case study, looking into the application of Porter's 5 forces as described in his competitive strategy book. It is important for us to be able to take this process forward because we have an appreciation that it's not only the 5 forces that influence strategy that should be the lens through which we put together our competitor analysis. There will be 4 others that we'll be sharing in this session. It is also important for me to be able to highlight the importance of developing a business strategy. And for this, I'm going to be deliberate in emphasizing that whatever you do, you play to win. And therefore, the book by A.J. Leffley that addresses to development of strategy with a playing to win mentality will be one that we'll be making reference to. Of course, there are many other business strategy books that are in the marketplace. I'm choosing to be able to utilize that, and also will refer to the work that we did in previous engagements, as it were, with the Blue Ocean Strategy Framework, which affords you and I an opportunity during these times of COVID to formulate strategies that make the existing competition irrelevant, while we go ahead and set up something that will distinguish us and set us apart in the marketplace as key players who are difference making and therefore win market share. We will go ahead and conduct our competitor analysis utilizing 5 frameworks. The first, of course, is that of Michael E. Porter, the professor of strategy at Harvard Business School. You will also have had some time to be able to watch the video that is in there. It's a very short video wherein Tom Stewart, who is the editor and managing director of Harvard Business Review, takes Michael Porter to explain himself on what he really meant about the 5 forces that influence strategy and the application thereof in various industries, as it were. The second that we want to be able to look into in terms of competitive analysis as a framework is you're conducting a SWOT analysis. Now, you would conduct this on your competition, but you also want to conduct the same on yourself. The opportunities in the marketplace can only be taken advantage of with a very clear analysis of what your strengths and weaknesses are, while at the same time noticing what threats may be in there posing challenge to your being successful in the development of your business going forward. Boston Consulting Group helped us a great deal to be able to get the next framework, which is the growth share matrix. Even though it was developed in the 1970s, it was relevant in the final quarter of the 20th century, but it is as relevant now in the first quarter of the 21st century. This is one that we are afforded the opportunity to be able to check out who are our star performers, where are the cash cows, and what is it that we're not very sure about, and we're going to go into detail around that. And then it is important for us to be able to take some time in terms of mapping where we perceive ourselves to be in the marketplace. So the perceptual mapping framework will be the 4th one that we'll pay attention to, and we will close off with a discussion on the strategic group analysis. This is really looking into the grouping of other players in the industry that you would be a part of and you would be working against, and therefore seeking to determine how competitive you can be and make all the difference in the marketplace. As the 1970s came to a close, Michael E. Porter, professor at Harvard Business School, presented what was to become the core reference on business strategy all over the world, when he wrote on the 5 forces that influence strategy. At the core of it, he speaks about the fact that there is an intense competitive rivalry that is at play. How many firms are competing for the slice of the market that you're in? How much is the market you're involved in growing? It is crucial for us to be able to understand that, because if we're not, we might find ourselves irrelevant in the marketplace because we've been displaced by others. Guess what? We find ourselves in situations where the rivalry among existing competitors is widened as more and more options become available in the marketplace. What that immediately does is that it introduces the threat of substitute products to your products, a substitute service to what you've been rendering. So you got to be able to ask every now and again, how likely are customers likely to switch to an alternative from what you've been offering, so as to be able to try something else or even move completely to something else? What are the substitutes like? It is also important for you to be able to look into, in the marketplace, there are bound to be others who will have monitored what's happening in there and think, wait, if we rally together as buyers, we could be able to swing the price that we buy what is on offer to us at. How much power do your customers have on you? Of course, we are looking for opportunities to be involved in an environment where we're not dealing with monopolies or oligopolies, any of those. We wanting to be able to get into a fair marketplace where we can be able to sell what we have to customers of varying types and kinds, but who are in tune with what we have to offer. The fourth area that is very crucial for us to pay attention to is the bargaining power of the suppliers. If it is to be that the suppliers out there to what we are buying and then reselling to our customers, if their bargaining power is great, we are going to be price takers. We're going to be forced to buy whatever it is presented to us at the price that the suppliers present. It is crucial for us to be able to look into, with the advent of the internet, it is possible to check what other suppliers are there in the local market, in the regional market, and globally. As much as we have moved more towards in-company, in-country kind of economics, the internet makes it possible for us to still be able to procure other products from suppliers outside of our borders. Finally, it is important for us to be able to look into, wherever we are, there will be new entrants who look into what is available and produce something different. Airbnb got into a space where hotel chains had been in existence for a long time, and they came through with the advent and the application of algorithms. They got technology to be able to match a person who needs a home to just a bed to somebody who has a space that they can rent. The same applies to the application of Uber, and now we've got Uber Eats, and we have found, even in the space of retail, that more and more ideas are coming through with new entrants that are finding sharper, more elegant ways that take away the waste in order to be able to present value to the customer out there. So it is for us to be able to pay attention to all of these 5 forces and check, how are we positioned so as to be able to have a strategy that truly resembles what we are wanting to be able to do and remain highly competitive. There is hardly any strategy conversation that gets to be done without a discussion on the SWOT analysis. What we come to appreciate is that SWOT has 2 sections attached to it. The strengths and weaknesses look into internal factors that give you advantage or disadvantage you, while opportunities and threats are really looking externally at what opportunities are presented by the marketplace to you and you could be able to take advantage of so that you can grow your business and what threats may be there. Thinking about our industry, the industry that you're involved in the South African market, you will notice that with the advent and the growth of Black economic empowerment and then broad-based Black economic empowerment, opportunities have a reason for you to participate even in this particular program because there is a desire to widen the cake and grow the cake for the participation of more people in the economy. The threat, however, may very well be in the space that says there are many people who are participating and therefore there is a dilution of the price so that we end up becoming takers of whatever is made available to us. We may look into it and say, well, also the cost of raw supplies. The political climate may be a problem in us advancing our business as we want to go forward. Finances may be challenges. Many banks are very reluctant to be able to lend, and if they do, the price of money gets to be a little bit prohibitive. So it is important for us to be able to think what opportunities are presented to us and what are the threats we have in advancing the goals we've set for our business. Some of those threats may very well be internal, surprisingly, because they may very well come through from people who are inside the organization who are not sold to the organization and therefore may actually take intellectual property, intellectual wisdom of the company to the world out there. And of course, loyalty itself is not something that is that much guaranteed these days. It is common cause that as a business person, you need to be able to look into what are your strengths in your business. And some of the questions that you may want to be able to answer reflect on what do you do well. So in the template that I've just reproduced for you, you may want to start asking yourself, what is it that your organization is amazing at? Because if you know that, it inspires, it drives the energy amongst your colleagues. What unique resources can you leverage? And what are you thinking about that? What do third parties see as your strengths? People out there, what do they see as being your strengths? You may also want to be able to look into what differentiates you from others who are in business like you. You want to be able to communicate what is it that is novel about you. Do you have any novel approach to doing business? When you look on the areas of improvement or weaknesses, as it were, it is important to be able to ask a key question: what needs to be improved? What do your competitors do better than you? What resources do you lack that should be brought in place if you are to succeed in business development? And as you do that analysis, it is imperative that you get to appreciate where you fall short when compared to last year. What is it that you could do in order to improve? What aspects of your strategy did not have the positive outcome in the previous year, and therefore they are requiring attention this time around? When you look at opportunities that are presented, which is going external, you start asking yourself, well, what market opportunities are present for us? What can we leverage with our strength? And what trends can we take advantage of? Because if we're looking into growing the business, it should be possible for us to tell a story that when we meet up with the bank, they're able to release resources to help us to do the work that we want to have done. What is your organization dedicated to fostering innovation and growth on? If you are not innovative and not growing your business, you're bound to be history before you actually are able to say yay. It is crucial to be able to look into your organization and say, what needs strengthening so that the value you provide to your partners, to your customers becomes one that really stands out and others want more of it. What are some of the threats that you may be dealing with? What is your competitor currently doing that you're not doing? Do you have some weaknesses that expose your business, and if you're not paying attention to them, you may be in trouble? What threats can hurt your business when you look out there? Is it the lack of supply of particular products or components that are necessary to do your business? What factors put your organization at risk? That really is the key question. There may be some things happening in the political space or in the environmental space that require you to have a special attention paid to it so as to be able to make sure you are not overtaken. So it is in this space that you get to be able to look for ways of mitigating the risks that are posed by the threats in the marketplace. Developed in 1970 by the founder of the Boston Consulting Group, BCG, the Growth Share Matrix is an analysis framework that helps businesses to be able to classify their products in their company's portfolios against the competitive landscape of the industry that they are involved in. You will appreciate in the slide that is provided to you that it's an interplay of growth versus market share, and it ranges from high to low growth and high to low market share. And as you think through that and you see the display around them, you will be able to appreciate that the top right-hand corner has a situation which is kind of like a question mark. It's a question mark because it is about high growth but very low market share products that are being presented in the marketplace in your portfolio. If that becomes the case, you get to be able to ask, should you be investing in here or should you let this opportunity go by? If you can plot yourself and you see that in that space, growth is high, but the market share is tiny, you will need to be able to make a strategic decision really about how you go forward. The top left-hand corner is an interesting one because it looks into an environment where you've got high growth, even at same time you have high market share. This is where you've got star performance. Effectively, if you think about Zoom right now, they are star performing. They're in a high growth space. They are in high market share. But also, when you look into the General Electric organization coming through from the era of Jack Welch and Jeff Immelt taking over in 2001 and 2002, opportunities were arising around taking care of technology and appreciating the opportunities that are there in the CAT scan environment. And of course, they were able to find their stars in there and invested more. You will also find there are instances where you are on the bottom right-hand corner. The market is growing very slowly and your market share is also very low. If that is the case, you need to be able to ask yourself, how do you reposition your products or even stop investing in them? Because they're pretty much your pet projects and you could be carrying on them and they start draining your resources. You don't want to be in that space for too long. The bottom left-hand corner is an interesting one because here you may have low growth, but you've got massive market share. That turns out to be the cash cow of the business. So if you're in that space, you know for a fact that you can use the funds that are generated from the stars and grow this particular area. Over time, you might find that it tinkers on and generates more cash for you, and it may very well, as things turn in the marketplace, from cash cow can become stars and stars can become cash cows, and there's a full-on interplay in that space. The fourth framework we are looking at is perceptual mapping. This is a visual representation of the perception of your products and services relative to competing alternatives. It is also called the positioning mapping. We've made reference to the issue of positioning in the earlier segment when we're looking into the trends, the opportunities, and then positioning, aligning, as well as capacity and capabilities and competencies. This is important because it shows your position, the position of your brand, position of your products or services when they are mapped against your competitors. Well, the first thing you wanted to be able to look into this is just two key attributes: quality, price, because people get to be able to buy on the strength of just that. High quality, high price. If you see yourself plotted in that area, you then are in a growth space. But if it turns out to be that your product features in low quality and you used low pricing strategy, you may find you're mapped on the bottom left-hand corner of this particular mapping process. And you will choose how you want to be able to place yourself. You enter into the market, you already have an existing client, and you have a particular pricing model that you've used with them. Let it help you to be able to be a well perceived based on the actual delivery, not just things that are thought to be delivered, but something that you are delivering in terms of price and quality. The fifth and final area that we're looking into as a competitive analysis framework is strategic group analysis. This one allows you to analyze your organization in clusters based on the similarities of strategy. So you identify a cluster of where your firm sits in relation to the strategic dimension of others, and then you can see how you are able to impact the marketplace given a particular strategic approach that you may be adopting. And when you look into that, I mean, the example that is presented is one that looks into share of voice versus reliance on paid search when you're doing the search engine analysis work. It is easy for you to be able to see, wait, the people who are doing the same things as myself are in this cluster. From there, you get to be able to work out what are they doing better than I am? Is this the grouping I would want to stay in? Or I could be in this cluster for a period of time and then jump out because I have outgrown this particular cluster and I have taken advantage of other opportunities that the market has presented to me that others may not have been able to take note of. And in that way, you could also be setting a new niche and a new strategic grouping altogether. It's an opportunity that is presented by the market and your ability to pivot as opportunities arise to you. Having completed our market and competitive analysis, we now have an opportunity to be able to develop a strategy for our business. I know for a fact you already have an existing strategy, but let's see if we can refine your strategy as you currently have it. One, what is your primary source of leverage? If you look into that, it helps you to look into current and future business development opportunities, and you can leverage that for the future. Second, much like happens in applying the blue ocean strategy, you start asking, what do you focus on? What is the ideal scope of your product, your service, and the markets on which you are currently focused on, and what do they require you to do less of, eliminate, or avoid even participating in them? Third thing for you to be able to look into is, well, is your enterprise allocated appropriately? Is it where it should be? The emphasis is on the offerings and the market that are within your chosen scope. Then you start looking into the future direction. What direction should you be sending your various departments or units within your enterprise so that they know very well how and what they can develop in order to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that arise into the future. Fifth, it is important for you to have clear vision. Now, obviously, you'll find that more and more of the people who are operating with the millennial and Gen Z perspectives do not have a stronger emphasis on vision. I know for a fact Gen X's and many of the boomers have had a strong focus on vision. And we want to bring that forward once more. What do you need? And what do you want for your organization to look like in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? What would you like it to feel like in the marketplace? What's the smell of the organization? How attractive will it be? Will it just be number one, or do you have a different vision for your organization? Number 6, you got to be able to think about points of divergence. How can you pivot from your competitors in the marketplace, and how can you position yourself in such a manner that when people look at you, they realize they've got to do business with you, and therefore that gives you an advantage in the marketplace. And finally, you've got to be able to look into the advantageous approach that you could be employing right here. Do you need to refine or make any unique refinements into the approach that you have been adopting as you enter the marketplace, as it were? If you think through to how Uber has had to refine themselves in the light of the challenges that came through with COVID-19, they've begun to be able to render their services such that Amazon.com finds their model useful. Right here, Takealot utilizes many of the ideas that came through from the crew at Uber. So, can you refine your strategy and make it such that you really are seen to be delivering something truly unique? The Blue Ocean strategy, by the way, affords you a chance to be able to think round about just that. Can you create something that the market does not have as yet? In introducing strategy, there's always a need to be able to think about the grandmasters as they play chess. You have all of the pieces right on your board. All of us are dealt a certain number of cards. How we play those cards really depends on us. And on a chessboard, how we play with the various pieces will position us as winners or not winners. Done all the competitive analysis. Now you want it to be able to play. Are you going to play to win or just be counted amongst other players in the marketplace? The former CEO of Procter & Gamble, A.J. Leffley, partnered with the Dean of Rotman School of Management, Roger Matten, and together they formulated and put together the book that I am choosing to reference for you as you work on enabling effective strategy to execute very well in a space that you are in right now. There are about 5 questions that they get to be able to ask, which 5 questions are truly crucial for us after we've conducted a thorough competitive analysis to see how we can position ourselves to become winners and not just be counted amongst the people who were in the field but did not play to win. 5 simple questions, but very profound. The first question when you're playing to win is to ask the question, what is your winning aspiration? Now, this is very important because if you think back to what we had with the 7 questions or 7 aspects of good strategy, the vision you have helps you to be able to determine the true aspiration through which you're going to be attracting talent into your organization. So what's your winning aspiration? We know General Electric got to be famous for more than 20 years with a clear aspiration of being number one or number two in their chosen markets. Anytime they go to position 3, they would do everything in their power to rebuild that business so that it would get into gold or silver. So what's your winning aspiration? Second question you get to be able to ask yourself is, where will you play? You cannot be everywhere. When you are spread too thinly, your resources get to be ineffective and you become ineffective. So where will you play? Regional? Where will you play? National? Where will you play? Locally? It's up to you. You got to be able to think through that. The third question is, how can you win in your chosen market space? Because if you haven't thought about that, it is possible again to be accompanying others who are in the sector and the industry, but you do not really produce anything of value that makes you to be able to stand out. The fourth question is a crucial one, because here you begin to be able to look into human capabilities, but also other capabilities that are afforded to you by virtue of being in the marketplace at the time that you are engaging. And we're going to go into a little bit of detail around about just that, because your capabilities and a lot has to do with the framing in your mind around whether you think you can succeed or not. The final question that is asked in Playing to Win is, what management systems will be required to support all that you've put together? Why is this important? Systems enable the business to operate without the founder having to be there monitoring everything. In fact, you are in business when the systems have taken over and they make it, others can interpret what your strategy is and they can own it themselves. Let's begin our conversation by asking the question, what is your winning aspiration? If you're wanting to be able to develop strategy, you need to first clarify for yourself, why are you in business in the first place? What is your mission? What do you want others to be able to remember about your business when you're no longer there? So what does winning look like? Because it means different things to different people. In your own organization, be thinking, what do you aspire to be? Not so much what do you aspire to have, which is the outcome. But it is important to be able to look into what you aspire to be. Contemplating on a chessboard, you get to be able to think how you will go about ensuring that you become the grandmaster. In order to be able to do that, you need to appreciate each and every piece and the power that lies on every piece on the board and what moves they make, so as to be able to translate into your winning. Wherever you play, you want to be excelling in that environment. So you need to be able to ask, where will you play? Will you be playing around geography? Will you play around product type or customer segment, mining sector? Or will you be playing on your distribution channel, how you will be able to reach your customers? It may very well be that you say to yourself, I'm going to play in the value chain. I know I am in the tracking environment and Eskom needs coal, but the coal, there aren't conveyor belts that are at play right now, so there needs to be an alternative way in which things can be done. So tracking becomes one of the players or the parties that enables the generation of electricity flowing through from the coal mines close to us. So where do you want to play? Geographically, in terms of country, in terms of region, product type, this is where you begin to look into price versus quality. These become important in terms of distinguishing you as a player. Indeed, I'd like to believe that you would want to have your enterprise being the champion enterprise. When Maurice Ashley, Jamaican born, became the first black grandmaster of chess, the world was amazed because the assumption had been it's just the Russians who know exactly how to play chess and they've been trained from very young. Well, here is an opportunity. In the CDP process, you have the opportunity to become the champion enterprise that the company that you're a part of gets to be recognized as the key piece on the chessboard of a successful client that you're rendering services or delivering products to. The next question you want to be able to ask yourself as you develop strategy is how can you win in your chosen space? Whether it is about value chain, whether you have chosen that to be geography related, well, you gotta be able to ask yourself, you want to be able to find ways or things that would underpin your competitive advantage in your strategy. Therefore, you look at your recipe for success and ask, how can I win here? Is it the people that I hire? Is it being on time all the time? For instance, if you think about Fly South Air, they have determined for themselves that the one way they will win in the market, in the aviation market, is to ensure that they have highly affordable seating and they are going to be on time. And right now, they're boasting about 97% on time record. Well, that gets to be something that is attractive to others, customers who may very well have been left in the dark as SAA still adjusts itself. When Sibusiso Villani became the first black African to summit Everest, he made it very clear to virtually everybody, you can win. You are designed to win. And the fact that you come from a rural area with minimal resources does not in any way take from you being capable of winning. And of course, this then takes us to human capabilities. And those capabilities become crucial because if you're thinking about your business and you've already thought through your winning aspiration 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the people that you bring alongside to work with you will help you to move from base camp to the summit. Is your strategy viable? It is here then that you get to be able to specify the range and set of activities which will enable you to win wherever you have chosen to play. You need to be able to map your own competencies which will underpin where you play and how you win in your chosen marketplace. Capabilities are things that will guarantee, help you to be able to sleep better, knowing that you've recruited the right people, you've got the right equipment, you've got the right tools to take you forward. Therefore, you need to consider how your capabilities will combine and reinforce each other in order to generate an enduring advantage for you in this competitive environment within which you are currently operating, or the one that you will be venturing into in the near future. Just over 2 years ago, Saray Khumalo became the first African black woman to summit Mount Everest. And she said, this is for ordinary women, ordinary girls and daughters of Africa, so that they can dream. Of course, she spoke to the fact that giving up is never an option when you are on Mount Everest. Therefore, do everything in your business with the understanding that failing is not an option. Failing could be a stage you go through, but it should not be the thing that holds you back. Saray Khumalo makes it very clear for us that it is possible to ensure that the sky is not the limit at all. But our thinking stands in the way of us realizing the dreams that are possible. The fifth question around effectively implementing your strategy is whether or not you have the systems, management systems, structures, and measures necessary that will support the options you have taken, the strategic choices you have made, the tactics you have come to. You will need to purposefully design the systems so that they are not an impediment for the execution of the strategy. Sometimes it will be necessary for you to be in the customer-facing environment, experience what your customers feel when they experience your product or your service. You may be in the front of the till, you can be behind the till. Just that positioning affords you a chance to know whether the systems you've put in place are robust and workable enough to ensure that the strategy execution is right and relevant for your business. There is no better place to be able to appreciate the significance of effective systems and strategies that are really consistent with all of the 5 questions that we've just been responding to. Lewis Hamilton has been knighted. Now he is Sir Lewis Hamilton. Got started in the game just out of curiosity, but then a dream was planted in him that one day he would be a Formula One race driver. But as he got into it, he began to be able to say to himself, there are some Schumacher world records that I need to be able to beat. And indeed, he eventually got to be able to do that. Sir Lewis Hamilton presents through to us the opportunity is there that you and I, regardless of our backgrounds, can get to the apex of anything we set our minds to. And as you look into having analyzed your market, having looked into the competition that you already have, you've taken the 5 forces that influence strategy as presented by Michael E. Porter. You've come to appreciate that there may very well be new entrants out there. Hamilton has got new people that are coming through from the other groups, the Ferrari group or the McLaren groups. It is crucial for you to be able to look into that. What are potential substitutes that may interfere with you and chip away on your market share? You also want to be able to say to yourself, am I in a position where I am able to withstand pressure that may be coming from suppliers who may bully me to a particular pricing, or pressure that may be coming through from customers who, because of their collective powers, are now capable of getting things done that had not been done previously. It is crucial to be able to engage in this space with the mindset of, I can win. And I know you are in this business that you're in, not to fill the numbers. You are in it to win it. Go for it. Make the difference.